Hey guys, this is God of Politics. I'm going to go back to a brand new video, but before we get started with this video, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Also follow me on Twitter and join the Discord. Those are both linked down in the description. But in today's video, I will be doing an alternate 2020 election video between Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders. If Bernie Sanders had actually won the primary, defeated Joe Biden and everybody else that was competing against him, which would have been a very big challenge for him to do because of the fact that he wasn't getting 50% in a lot of the states he was winning, and he didn't really have a path to get 50% in a lot of these states. But nonetheless, I am assuming that this election is based off of the fact that Bernie Sanders would have won the primary. So let's get right into the video without any more talking. So first off, the safe states, which in my opinion would have been Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, Alaska, as well as North Dakota, South Dakota, all of Nebraska except for the 2nd District, Kansas, Oklahoma, Utah, as well as Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana, West Virginia, South Carolina, and that adds up to 125 safe electoral votes for Donald Trump. And then for Bernie Sanders and Nina Turner, I've put as the VP candidate because a lot of people were talking about that if Bernie Sanders were to be the nominee. I'm sure he could pick someone else too, but I'm just going to base it off of this, and I'm not going to factor it in too much. But he would have won Washington, Oregon, California, as well as Colorado and New Mexico, Hawaii, Illinois, as well as New York, Vermont, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, D.C., and the state and Maine's 1st congressional district. So that adds up to 197 safe electoral votes for Bernie Sanders and Nina Turner, 125 for Donald Trump and Mike Pence. The likely margin states I do believe would be Iowa and Ohio. I believe that Bernie Sanders might do probably about the same as Joe Biden. He might do a little bit better in some of those rural areas in eastern Ohio and rural areas in northeastern Iowa, but he would have done worse in the suburbs in areas like Des Moines, areas like Columbus, so on and so forth. And I do believe that it would have been a likely margin because of it. I also believe Texas would have been a likely margin. I believe, sure, Bernie Sanders would have performed better in the Rio Grande Valley. But, even in the primary, he won a lot of these counties, so that would have given him a boost in terms of his support in the Rio Grande Valley. But I do believe he would have done a little bit worse in the suburbs, especially areas like Collin and Denton County and Tarrant County, Williamson County. I don't think he would have done as well in those counties. I don't think he would have flipped Williamson and Tarrant County like Joe Biden did, but I do believe it still would have been a likely margin there. And then I also actually believe that Florida would have been a likely margin, and the reason I believe this is that you have to remember, Joe Biden lost the state by 3 percentage points approximately. In 2004, George Bush actually won the state by 5 percentage points. And I don't really suspect that Bernie Sanders would have done any better with those Cuban voters. The whole, scare about the Cuban voters was that Biden was some sort of socialist that was going to enact socialist agenda. Well, Bernie is actually a lot closer to socialism than Joe Biden is. And so you have to remember that, sure, Bernie did better with some Latinos like areas in Nevada, areas in Texas. He wouldn't have really done that much better in the primary in Florida. And in the primary in Florida, he did just as bad in Miami-Dade as he did everywhere else overall in the primary. So I don't think he would have done that much better, but he also would have done worse in areas like Tampa Bay, areas like Duval County. And so I do believe he would have lost by just around 5 percentage points there. And then I do believe that is all the likely margin states. So for actually Maine's 2nd District would also be a likely margin. And then for Bernie Sanders and Nina Turner, I do believe we would have been Virginia by likely margin, New Hampshire by likely margin because, the sister state kind of thing, and he also did well there in the primary. And I do believe he would, and actually, that's all of the likely margin. Actually, Maine's at large, he would also win by likely margin. So that's 216 electoral votes for Bernie Sanders and Nina Turner after the likely margin states. Donald Trump and Mike Pence get 217. The lean margin states, first, I believe North Carolina and Georgia would both be lean margin states. I don't believe Bernie would be able to do enough, get enough support from black voters, and I don't think he would do well enough in the suburbs to make these states that close. And so I do believe he would make them closer than 2016, but I do believe he would lose them both. I do believe that is all the lean margin states. So then for Bernie Sanders and Nina Turner, I do believe he would win Nevada and Minnesota by lean margins. And the reason in Minnesota is because, looking at the actual results, Joe Biden won Minnesota by 7 percentage points, around 7.1, 7.2 percentage points here. Bernie Sanders would probably do just as well, if not better, in the iron range with some of those working class voters, but he would do a little bit worse in the Minneapolis suburbs. And again, he wouldn't be able to get black turnout up that much because, Joe Biden has had his struggles with black voters, but he did do, well with black voters. And I don't believe that Bernie Sanders would have done as well because if you look back at the primary, all the talk about was Joe Biden's strength with black voters, and then that was one of his weaknesses come the general election. Whereas if Bernie Sanders were the nominee, he would have had even more problems with black voters, despite the fact that he was doing better with Hispanics in certain areas. And so that would have been to his detriment in Minnesota, but I still believe he would have been able to win the state easily, or I guess relatively easily. And then in Nevada, he would have done a little bit worse with some of those white voters in the suburbs, but he also would have done better with the Latino voters, so he probably would have run it by around a similar margin to what Joe Biden won it by. And then the tilt margin states, I do believe Arizona would have been a tilt margin state. I believe Bernie would have, slightly improved in Maricopa County and done better in areas like Pima County and those kinds of areas with Latino voters, but I don't think it would have been enough to win the state, especially given the fact that Joe Biden was barely able to win the state even with his strength in the suburban areas of Maricopa County. So I also believe Pennsylvania would have been another one of those areas. Bernie Sanders probably wouldn't have done as bad in some of those rural areas. I mean, these rural areas are still going to trend Republican regardless, but I believe Bernie would have, maybe stomped it a little bit. He could have still won Erie County. He could have, maybe done better in Lucerne County or Lehigh County, but he would have done worse in areas like Bucks County, Northampton County, and those suburban areas, Allegheny County, Delaware County, and so I do believe that would have been to his detriment, and he would have narrowly lost the state of Pennsylvania. I also believe at Wisconsin he would have lost by a narrow margin, because if you look at the actual results, Joe Biden did not improve in the areas that people thought he would improve in, and I've talked about this. It was in my most surprising elections video. I talked about how Joe Biden's coalition to form a victory in Wisconsin was not what people expected. Many people expected he would do better in the western areas of the state, the 3rd congressional district. Eau Claire's up here, Madison's over here, kind of the areas in between them, the driftless areas, but he didn't improve there. He improved in the Milwaukee suburbs, and I don't believe that Bernie Sanders would have that same strength. So even if he was able to do marginally better in those rural areas, I don't believe it wouldn't have been enough to overcome the fact that the suburbs wouldn't have trended to him the way that they did to Joe Biden. So the final states that are undecided here is Nebraska's 2nd district and Michigan. Now, before the election, I probably wouldn't have put Nebraska 2nd in Bernie's column if he were the nominee, but after, we see that Joe Biden's won the district by, 7 percentage points, it's kind of hard not to put it in Bernie Sanders' column, because while he wouldn't have done as well in the suburbs, he would have still improved over Donald Trump, because he had a lot of weaknesses in the suburbs. And as for Michigan, this is a traditionally Democratic state, as we've talked about, and it's the state that of the 3 states that flipped, or these 3, many states flipped in 2016, but of those 3 states that flipped in 2016, it was the bluest state this election, and it was the closest in 2016. And you look at the areas that Bernie would have improved in, he would have probably done better with younger voters in areas like Ann Arbor, where University of Michigan is. He would have done better in some of these rural areas that are traditionally Democratic. And even if he had done him worse in areas like Oakland County, Mahoning County, it wouldn't have really mattered that much, because I still believe he would have won Michigan narrowly. So overall, the final electoral map is 289 electoral votes for Donald Trump and Mike Pence, and then 249 electoral votes for Bernie Sanders and Nina Turner. This would have reelected Donald Trump as the 45th president of the United States. And Bernie Sanders' campaign message, just kind of wrap this all up, Bernie Sanders' campaign message would have been tied around, giving people health care, giving people need during a pandemic, a time of hardship, whereas Donald Trump would be painting Bernie Sanders as a radical leftist politician who's going to bring socialism. And that's kind of what, in some ways what we saw in this election with Joe Biden regardless, but Joe Biden turned out on top. But this would have kind of been to a more extreme extent because Bernie is further to the left, and I don't believe he would have been able to build that unique coalition that Joe Biden was able to build. And, a lot of people have been talking about this. Oh, Bernie would have won. I don't really think Bernie would have won. I don't believe he would have been able to build that coalition of suburban voters and do well enough with black voters to win. And, overall, I think the electoral map would have looked something like this. So, thank you all for watching this video. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Also, follow me on Twitter and join the Discord. Those are both linked down in the description. But again, guys, thank you all for watching this video, and I will see you guys later.